My, female 31, husband's, male 34. Family is Christian. Hubs and I aren't. They're from the USA. My husband moved to Europe where we met. His family is pretty well off and the house market here is crazy. So his family gifted us money to purchase a house as a wedding gift for that exact purpose. We were very grateful and accepted. We're child-free and never want to have children. His parents are kind, but tend to push their religion on others. For example, Hubs and I weren't allowed to sleep in a room together pre-marriage. We must go to church with them every Sunday for multiple hours when we visit. I'm not allowed to wear shorts when visiting. I can't wear a bikini when using their pool. You name it. I accept it for the sake of family peace. Father-in-law always seemed kind of creepy to me, for continuously staring at me and touching me unnecessarily. Husband wanted to call his parents out on multiple occasions, but I stopped him to not cause drama. We only see them like 1 to 2 weeks a year anyway. But of course there still was drama multiple times. When I told them I won't be a stay-at-home mom, didn't change my last name to his, etc. This summer we visited and they hosted a large family dinner. I was enjoying the food and the chats with the family, and all of a sudden, mother-in-law looks at me and loudly says, "X, you should really eat more healthy." I was stunned and asked why. She says, slightly annoyed, "Fat women give birth to unhealthy babies." I responded that I didn't plan on having any, and hubby sided with me, saying mother-in-law knows we're child-free. Mother-in-law's face turned red, shouting at me that it was my marital duty to give my husband children and her and his father grandchildren, and that I didn't have the right to be so selfish and deny them what's their right, and that I must have been gaslighting my husband. I wanted to respond, but hubby just pulled me aside. We left to the guest room. The next morning we all had breakfast together. Mother-in-law stared at me, then said that since I'm not willing to give her any grandchildren, I don't need such a huge house and we should give them their money back. Husband intervened, saying it was a gift and they had no right to demand that, and also he won't be tolerating them talking to his wife like that. Mother-in-law yelled we were disrespecting her religion and I was a W for giving my body away without intending to birth children. I snapped and said that those were big words for a woman who has to forbid her daughter-in-law to wear shorts. She's jealous of her pseudo-Christian husband, father-in-law, because they only had S for the exact purpose of her getting pregnant, which sums up to 4 times total in their entire 35 years marriage. We got up, packed our things, and left to a hotel. Am I the a-hole for cussing like that and causing drama? Not the a-hole. It's always easy to say, take the high road, don't stoop to their level. But sometimes you've just got to tell some people to go royally duck themselves, in my humble opinion. And you did well to hold your tongue for as long as you did. Personally, that would be my last visit I'd have with my in-laws if I was in your shoes. And if by some chance I ever did have kids, they certainly wouldn't be seeing them regardless. Reminds me of that time my, thankfully former, mother-in-law asked me why I didn't just off myself when I explained to her I wasn't intending on ever having kids and why. And that it was my duty as a woman to birth soldiers for the army of God to spread his word across the world. Fun times. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You gave as you got. Could you have been the bigger person and just walked away? Responded calmly. Sure. But it seems like that is what you did on multiple occasions before. And sometimes it gets to a point where that isn't an option anymore. Your mother-in-law calling you what she did was that point. My ex and I split a few years back. We had 2 kids and split when they were babies. They have always lived with my ex, and I see them a few times a month when I'm not working weekends, which is frequent. I am remarried and have full custody of my other child I had in a previous relationship. My current wife has no children yet, but wants to try for one. I also just live in a trailer, and my wife is pushing me to save for 5+ acres and a big home for us. My ex-wife got married and moved in with her new husband. I was dropping the kids off at her new place, and her husband has his own land and only one neighbor, and the house was 2 stories. While dropping them off, I asked him how much something like this cost, and he told me that he built the house by hand, paycheck to paycheck, and that he's still working on it a little, and he plans to build an addition with 2 more bedrooms, living room, and a man cave for himself. He then snuggled up to my ex-wife and said it's our house now, so I'm letting her help me draw up the plans, and we just painted the kids' room pink. He said everything he owned was now theirs. He's also set them up with a mini farm with a ton of animals that my daughter loved. Well, seeing how she has this great life now, we left. And when I got home, my wife was pissy with me over it. So I texted my ex and told her that I don't think I should have to pay child support anymore, and that so-and-so is more capable of providing for them, and that I needed to save money to start my own family like she has. She got angry and told me that they were still my kids, and I needed to take responsibility for them still. I disagree. She doesn't need the money, just wants it from me. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. The fact that your wife's new husband is richer than you are is irrelevant. Your children and your responsibility, not his. You are the father, and it is your duty to support your children financially. So, just to make sure I understand correctly, you are already cheating the system by lying about your income. You live in a trailer and already have 3 children, and you want to stop paying child support for 2 of them so that you can have more for your new wife. And you want to know if you're the a-hole? Yes, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. The child support you are paying is dictated by the courts, and its purpose is supporting and raising of your kids. You cannot arbitrarily decide to stop it because your ex's new husband is building additions onto his house. If you want to change the amount you are paying, then petition the courts for a change. My wife's parents have owned a house for 20 years. Her mother passed away a few years ago, and since then, her father has been living in the house alone. Her brother's family helps out a lot and has him over for dinner almost every night. My wife and I visit about once a week and help out, but not as much as my brother-in-law's family. My father-in-law owes about $150K on the mortgage, and the home is worth about $500K. My brother-in-law's family has been talking about taking ownership of the home and letting my father-in-law live with them for years because he wants to age in place, but he doesn't have any money to retire. The plans have always been very vague, and no one has ever shared any details with me and my wife or discussed how things would work. I always assumed that my wife would get a portion of the equity of the house, either when my brother-in-law bought it or when my father-in-law passed away. We were out to dinner last night, and the topic of the house came up, and my brother-in-law mentioned he would be putting his own home on the market in about a month and buying his father's house. I suggested that all of the family should get together with a lawyer to figure out a fair way of distributing the equity. My brother-in-law and his family got very upset, said we only care about the money, and that they are only looking out for what's best for the father. This morning, we visited my father-in-law to try to discuss the situation. It did not go well. It seems likely he had willed the house 100% to his son, but he wouldn't tell us one way or the other. Everyone thinks we're huge a-holes, and we're trying to claim our inheritance while my father-in-law is still alive. No one will give us a straight answer about the plan, but it seems like my brother-in-law is going to take ownership of the house without having to pay much, if anything, for it, and that they will get the house completely when my father-in-law passes away, without any other family members getting anything. They say that since they're going to let him live there and fix the place up, that they should get it. They didn't seem to be willing to discuss any alternative arrangements. If my father-in-law wants to just give the house to his oldest son, that's his choice, and we would respect that. No one will tell us if that is or isn't the plan. If my father-in-law's will says for the house to be divided by his 3 children, we would probably get around $50 to $100K if he were to pass away without my brother-in-law buying it. If he buys it, it looks like we would get nothing. My sister-in-law angrily said they weren't going to pay us off when I asked about our inheritance in the house. It's so tense that I don't know if I ever want to see my father-in-law and brother-in-law's family ever again. It's not the money, it's the secrecy, deception, and unfairness. They say all we care about is the money, but at the same time, they seem perfectly willing to keep the $350K in equity on the house and give us nothing. You're the a-hole. Wow, you're entitled as all hell. It's extremely common for the child who cares for an aging parent to get the house or more inheritance in return. They are already doing a huge amount to care for him, and will do even more when they move in together and he ages. They are all thinking like a family, figuring out the best way to care for dad. And you and your wife are just thinking about money. They don't owe you crap. You're the a-hole. You have 0 interest in the house. It's not even your dad. Your father-in-law is alive and well, and he can do anything he likes with any of his assets. He earned it. You are the reason that parents make trusts for their biological children, to be honest. This isn't an us situation. It's your wife's and her sibs. There's so much I in here that it makes me sick. You're the a-hole. Father-in-law does not owe you any explanation as to how he is handling his estate. They don't have to run anything by you. The guy is still alive. No one is owed or is entitled to an inheritance. I, female 17, am in a huge argument with my mother, female 56, over my college fund. My family has been adding to this fund since I was born, and my late grandfather put $200,000 into it so I could go to university without taking out a loan. However, my mother now wants to use the funds for her early retirement, and she's insisting that I get another job, I already have 2, to pay for my college expenses. I have 2 sisters who are currently in university, and they never had to take out loans because my parents funded their education using their college fund. I don't understand why I'm being treated differently, especially since I've been contributing to my fund as well. My mother says that she's given me enough time to work and save money, but I feel that I'm entitled to the funds that were promised to me. I've called my mother an a-hole because I feel that she's being unfair to me. However, I'm now considering taking her to court over this issue. Would I be the a-hole if I pursue legal action to get my college fund? I understand that taking legal action against my mother is a serious step that could have long-lasting consequences for our relationship. However, I feel that I'm being treated unfairly, and I don't want to have to take out loans to pay for my education when there's already a fund set up for me. I'm open to suggestions on how to resolve this issue without going to court, but I feel that I have a right to the funds that were promised to me. Am I the a-hole for wanting to take legal action to get my college fund? Not the a-hole. Just so I understand. Your late grandfather, not your mother, funded this, correct? So it's technically an inheritance of sorts. Your mother now wants to fund her retirement because of her poor financial planning with your inheritance. Sounds like you have a strong case. Not the a-hole. Do you know how the fund is set up? People often set them up so they can't be used for anything but school. Is your mother upset that your grandfather gave you so much? You are well within your rights to take legal action for the money. Write down everything you know about the account, the dates, your grandfather's gift to you. There's a legal advice Reddit where you may be able to get more advice from lawyers in the best way to proceed. Your mother is trying to steal your grandfather's gift to you. It's not okay. Not the a-hole. I'm horrified. Your mother is being unbelievably selfish. Why does she think she is entitled to a free early retirement at the age of 56, while demanding that you work 3 jobs as well as struggle to pay for your own education? In fact, how can you get a college education while working 3 jobs to support yourself, as well as pay for tuition, textbooks, fees, and much more? That money is yours. You contributed to it. Your mother is 100% wrong to think she can help herself to it. I hope you do sue her. If possible, compile a list of the money you contributed to the fund. Have been amicably separated for a few years. 2 kids, both teenagers. My ex is now engaged to someone the kids really like, and she seems to be a really good influence on the household. I've had little direct contact with her, aside from insisting to meet her when I learned indirectly that she was moving in with the kids, ex, as I was told by my ex that she wasn't ready for any relationship with me, and he told mutual friends she didn't think highly of me. When I met her, she was kind and open. Through his discussion with mutual friends, I know that her last relationship ended due to infidelity, and that she has trust issues. I've also learned through mutual friends that my ex has not disclosed to her that our marriage ended due to him having an affair. He told her it was due to us growing apart, which I guess he could be using as a reason to justify the affair. I recently found out that they are now engaged, which makes me happy as my kids really like her, and I trust their judgment. They're really great. And I'm beyond happy that they love their future stepmom. My concern is that they become close to her, and then she finds out about the affair, and it's a deal breaker because she was misled. I also feel like I've been made to feel that I can't talk with her, because she may find out the real reason behind why me and my ex split. I want her to stay, but I don't want my kids to become attached to her only for something to go sideways when the truth eventually comes out. Would I be the a-hole for letting her know now, or should I just keep my mouth shut? You're the a-hole. Your intentions sound sincere, but you need to stay out of it. Obviously, if she were to ask you directly, that's a different story. The best you could do would be to implore your ex to be honest for the reasons provided. People love to justify their infidelity by saying that they'd grown apart or fallen out of love prior to the cheating, as if that magically means it doesn't count. Gentle, you're the a-hole. I understand why you are concerned, but it's really none of your business. Also, keep in mind that you're receiving a lot of this intel third hand. You really don't know what kind of conversations they've had behind the scenes. If she approaches you directly, then be honest, but until that day happens, it's best to stay out of it. Your ex is deliberately lying to their new partner to make themselves look good and blameless, and the partner deserves to know the truth about who they're really dating. I'm not sure it should come from you, but someone needs to set the record straight, not the a-hole. Edit. I've decided I'm just going to let it go and continue making sure the kids are good, regardless of what life throws our way. I'll continue to be kind and supportive of ex and fiancé, and when she finds out, it's not really any of my business how they deal with it. Aside from sharing a couple of really rad kids, his life is his to live, and mine is mine, and we'll each reap the consequences of our own choices. For those suggesting friends mention it to her, one couple, never met her nor spoken with her in person. They've only talked with ex and have encouraged him to share with her when he disclosed to them that he hadn't. If they went directly to her, it would be glaringly obvious it was because of me, as he's not told them about the engagement. They've talked a couple of times since the engagement, but he never mentioned it to them, and they only were just surprised to find out when we were visiting and they asked after him. His family knows, my family knows, and both of our families are awesome. Eventually, I'm sure something will come out, but I'm going to go with my gut and continue to focus on raising strong kids who feel loved by family, no matter what, and just be nice to the soon-to-be new member of the family.